Overlooked and underrated, stretching is your hedge against the pain and stiffness you experience as you age. Once you hit your 40s, your tendons and cartilage begin to change chemically and become stiffer, preventing full range of motion. That's why you feel the pain you do when you first get up in the morning or have been sitting for a long period, such as driving or sitting at your desk. Proper stretching can help alleviate some of that pain and discomfort, plus help restore some of that lost range of motion that occurs in your middle ages. When you get up suddenly after being sedentary, your body's painful reaction is telling you it's not ready to move the way you want it to at that moment. It's saying it needs some warm-up time before movement begins. Don't worry. For most of you in your middle ages, it's just the natural chemical changes your body is undergoing. With a little dietary help, a little help with pain relief to get you moving better, and proper stretching, you can move with less discomfort and even regain some of that lost range of motion. Here to help show you how is Dr. Ashley Muse.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ashley Muse. I'm a doctor of chiropractic, an exercise rehabilitation therapist, and a certified yoga instructor. The key to getting the most out of your middle ages is to keep moving. And if you're not moving very much, you're too sedentary. It's true that the chemical changes in your tendons and ligaments probably make you not want to move very much. Let me recommend a couple of things. First, understand that pain is your body's way of telling you that something is wrong. Increasing your range of motion is going to be your best ally in decreasing your pain and getting you moving. So I recommend applying your Miraflex before you go to bed at night and before you begin your stretches. This will help loosen you up some and decrease your pain so that you can do your exercises more effectively without risking further injury. So go ahead and apply your Miraflex where you feel your pain and we can begin our exercises. Before we get started, I'd like to talk about some very important safety tips. Number one is that we are all different, so listen to your body and respect your limitations. Number two is never hold your breath. These exercises are designed to combine breath with movement for maximum benefit. And number three, listen to the cues I give you for each exercise to ensure proper safety. And don't forget to consult your physician before doing these exercises. You'll want to lay down a blanket or an exercise mat and also have a towel handy. And if it's hard for you to get on the floor, you can do these exercises in your bed before you even get up in the morning. We're going to begin with a warm-up. Start by lying on your back with your knees bent, arms extended out with the palms facing the ceiling. And we're just going to shut our eyes and begin to draw in deep, full breaths. As you inhale, count to 8, and as you exhale, hold for 8 counts. And as we inhale again for 8 counts, we're going to let our lower back arch up off of the floor a little bit. And as we exhale, we want to press our lower back to the floor. Inhale, we'll arch the back up off the floor. And exhale, we'll press the back flat. This is called pelvic tilts. With each inhale, you allow the back to arch, and with each exhale, you'll press the back flat into the floor. And you'll want to continue for about 6 to 8 breaths, inhaling for 8 counts, and exhaling for 8 counts. This is known as a balancing breath. It helps bring warmth to your muscles and energizes the body. These next few stretches are designed to increase flexibility in the lower back and the legs. So we'll begin by pulling our knees into our chest and reaching our arms around, hugging our knees in tight. It's very important that you lift the arch or the lower back up away from the floor so you increase the arch and keep the bottom pressed down to the floor. On each inhale, you'll want to allow your belly to expand with air, and on each exhale, you're going to press your belly button down towards the floor and hug your knees in tight without flattening the back. Always keep that natural arch of your back while performing these stretches. Then you'll want to drop your chin slightly down to your throat to lengthen the back of the neck. If your chin is lifting away from your throat, you're going to have a tightening at the back of the neck. And always relax through your shoulders, relax through your arms. And on each exhale, just pull your knees more to your chest while keeping that nice arch in the lower back and keeping the bottom on the floor. This next stretch is called knees to the side. You'll want to keep your knees at all times pressing together. So what you're going to do is you're going to drop your knees to the right, and your arms and your head will go to the left. You'll want to start deepening your breath here. At all times keeping the knees squeezed together. And what you'll want to do is you'll want to pull your tailbone between your legs as you exhale, sort of flattening the back out as we did in the pelvic tilt. So on the next exhale, squeeze your knees together and bring your knees back up over your chest. And squeeze the knees together as you exhale, dropping your knees to the left and turning your arms and head to the right. Once again, on each exhalation, you'll want to pull your tailbone between your legs and breathe deeply and fully. Always inhaling for 8 counts and exhaling for 8 counts. The next exercise is a hamstring stretch. You want to bring your knees back over your chest and place your feet flat on the floor. You'll want your towel for this exercise. So you want to take your towel and place it around the ball of your foot, right where your toes meet your foot, and extend your heel into the air. It's very important that your heel is directly above your hip, not down here, but right above your hip, even if your knee has to be bent. It's very important to keep your foot flat, lifting up through the heel rather than the toes of the foot. Then you'll want to grab the 2 ends of your towel and, keeping your elbows squeezed into your sides, pull your towel headward. If your elbows draw outward, your shoulders are going to lift towards your ears, creating tension in the neck. Spread your toes and lift your heel towards the ceiling. And at the same time, you're going to want to press your bottom down to the floor. This will produce an opening in the back of the knee, stretching through the hamstring. You'll also feel it in the calf if you can flatten your foot towards the ceiling and spread your toes. 6 to 8 breaths is always best on each stretch. As you exhale, really press the bottom into the floor, lift the heel towards the ceiling, and try to spread your toes apart. Okay, now we'll want to do the other side. So place the right foot flat, lift the left leg in the air, and again, bringing the heel directly above the hip, even if our knee is bent. What you'll want to do is pull the tie or the towel headward as you lift the heel towards the sky, and you'll want to press the bottom down to the floor. Hold for 6 to 8 breaths. It's going to be real important for you to develop your own 15-minute routine from these stretches that you can do twice a day, or once a day would be great as well. The next stretch is called the piriformis, or a hip stretch. Both feet will want to be flat on the floor, and then you're going to take your right foot, cross the right ankle over the left knee. You'll want to take your hand on your right knee and push the knee away from you. if you can, if this is not challenging enough, you'll want to lift your left foot away from the floor and draw your left knee into your chest. Once again, you want to make sure that your back is arching up off the floor and your bottom stays in contact with the floor. And you'll want to begin your breathing, inhaling for 8 counts and exhaling for 8 counts for 6 to 8 breaths. And on each exhalation, try to push your right knee away from your body and out to the right just slightly, and you'll want to pull your left knee a little closer to your body without flattening the lower back or lifting the bottom up away from the floor. And then on the exhale, place both feet flat on the floor and prepare for the other side. Pick the left leg up, cross the left ankle over the right knee. Take your hand and push your left knee away from your body. Keeping that nice arch in your back, lift the right leg up off of the floor, drawing your right knee into your chest. And once again, begin with your breathing exercise. On each exhale, push that left knee away from your body. Draw the right knee towards your body and never flatten that lower back to the floor, and never lift the buttocks away from the floor. And then release both feet back to the floor. And now for the core strengthening exercises. You'll want to place your feet on the floor. These stretches and exercises are designed to increase flexibility and strengthen your abdominals and your trunk muscles. So you're going to start with your feet flat on the floor. You want to line your feet up hip distance apart so that your knees, hips, and ankles create parallel lines with each other. You'll want to make sure that your feet are not turning outward, but that they're slightly turning inward. And then you'll want to imagine you're holding a small ball between your knees and you don't want to let it drop. You're going to press your feet into the floor and lift your hips towards the ceiling. This is called the bridge pose. Wherever your bridge may be, you may be here or you may be up here, but once again you'll want to scoop your tailbone between your legs so that the tailbone is pulling towards the ceiling. Make sure you're not rolling to the outsides of your feet, but that you press the insides of your feet down to the floor, and you want to let your knees draw towards your midline without actually touching them. So you'll want to squeeze your inner thighs towards each other as you lift the hips towards the ceiling. Keep squeezing that ball between your knees. Hold for 6 to 8 breaths. And then when you're ready, on the next exhale, you're going to lower down to the floor from the top of your spine down to the bottom, articulating one vertebra with the next, until finally, at very last, your hips, buttocks, and tailbone rest on the floor. The next exercise is the dead bug. This is for abdominal strength. You'll want to start with your arms overhead and your feet flat on the floor. And you're just going to bring your opposite hand to your knee. So you're going to draw in a full deep breath. As you exhale, bring your right hand to meet your left knee. You'll inhale your foot back to the floor, your arm back overhead. And again, exhale, bringing hand to knee. If this is not challenging enough for you, the next time you inhale, you can straighten the leg out. And as you exhale, bring the knee up over the chest, allowing the hand to meet the knee. At all times, you want the arch in your lower back to stay constant. You never want to flatten the back or increase the arch. You also never want to lift the back of the shoulder off of the floor. And let's do the other side. You'll want to do anywhere from 6 to 10 on each side. Exhale, bring your hand to your knee. This helps strengthen your abdominals if you'll make sure that the lower back does not flatten and arch up. Remember, you can either keep your knee bent as you lower it back to the floor, or if you want more of a challenge, you can straighten the leg as you lower it back to the floor. Always keeping that lower back arch, that natural lordotic curve. Always keeping the back of the shoulder in contact with the floor as your arm goes overhead and up to meet your knee. And release your hand and foot back to the floor. The next exercise is for our glutes, and we'll have to turn onto our bellies. So roll onto your right side. Push your hands into the floor to walk yourself up and turn around onto your belly.
You'll want to start by curling your tailbone between your legs and then squeezing your inner thighs together, pointing your toes. Your arms will be stretched out overhead, but you'll want to lift the armpits up away from the floor. And then what you're going to do, this is an opposite arm and leg lift. You're going to want to lengthen through the right arm and the left leg and allow this length to lift you up away from the floor. And lower down. And again, lengthen, but allow this length to lift the right arm and the left leg. On the exhale, you'll lift. And on the inhale, you'll lower. You want to do 3 to 6 times on each side. So we'll do left arm, right leg, curling the tailbone to the floor. As you exhale, lift from the armpit first. Lengthen through the fingertips, lengthen through the toes. And lower on the inhale. And exhale. Lengthen and allow this length to lift the arm and leg just slightly off the floor.
And now we're going to transition into a standing position. So bring your hands underneath your shoulders, push yourself back, curl your toes up underneath you, and drop your heels to the floor, curling your spine up. This is the military stretch. You want to start by lengthening your spine, and then you're going to bring your hands together in the back, interlacing your fingers, pressing the heels of your hands together. If this is difficult, you can use a towel or a tie, bringing your arms apart. But you'll want to straighten your arms back behind you, at the same time moving the fronts of the shoulders back. Make sure that you avoid rounding the shoulders forward or letting the back droop and sag. But you want to pull the fronts of the shoulders back behind you and begin to straighten your arms, lifting the chest towards the ceiling like a military man. Imagine standing up straight and tall, bringing your head on top of your shoulders and lengthening your arms back behind you. And hold for 6 to 8 breaths. Try to pull your shoulders down away from your ears so that they're not hunching, and avoid lifting your chin away from your throat so that the back of your neck is tightened and short. You want to drop your chin, lift through the crown of your head, and lengthen your arms behind you. Also, try not to stick your ribs out, but you'll want to move the front of your rib cage to the back of your rib cage to ensure the length in the spine. And hold for 6 to 8 breaths. And then release on the exhale, rolling through the shoulders. And now we'll move on to Apley's stretch. You'll want your towel for this one, so place your towel in your right hand. Inhale, bring the arm up and overhead. As you exhale, drop the hand, reaching between the shoulder blades. And then you'll want to reach the left hand up, reach up as high as you can on your towel and pull the towel downward. You'll want to reach the right elbow up towards the ceiling, the left elbow down towards the floor. And make sure that you're not letting the elbow press your head forward, but push your head back into your elbow without lifting your chin. Drop your chin slightly and pull your shoulders and armpits straight back, lifting your chest towards the ceiling. And hold for 6 to 8 breaths. Inhaling for 8 counts and exhaling for 8 counts. Each time you exhale, pull your towel downward so that you get that stretch along the tricep, opening up the shoulder underneath the armpit and through the upper arm. And when you're ready, release and roll through your shoulders. And prepare for the other side. Take the towel in your left hand. Inhale the left arm up and overhead. Exhale, bend the elbow, reach between the shoulders. Take the right hand from underneath and pull downward on your towel. You'll want to walk your hand as much up your towel as you can so that you can almost join your fingers. And then once again, make sure your head is on top of your shoulders, your chest is lifting, and that you start to pull the front of the rib cage to the back of the rib cage, moving the shoulders, elbows, and armpits straight behind you. And again, hold for 6 to 8 breaths. And release your pose and roll through the shoulders. This is the brachial plexus stretch. You'll want to stand sideways to the wall so that you can outstretch your arm, placing your hand on the wall with the fingers facing the back of you, and also the fingers should be parallel to the floor. And then you want to press all your knuckles and the heel of your hand into the wall, then pull your shoulder back in its socket. Many people are so tight in their shoulders that the shoulder wants to come forward and towards the ear, but pull the shoulder back and down into the socket, and then pay close attention to the elbow, the crease of the elbow. You'll want to turn the crease of the elbow so that it faces forward. And you want the tip of the elbow facing straight behind you with a slight bend. You don't want to lock the elbow out so that the angle of the elbow faces forward. You want to turn the crease of that elbow forward so that you get a nice straight line all the way from the wrist to the shoulder. Already you should start to feel a stretch all along your wrist, into your elbow, all the way up into your shoulders. If this stretch is intense for you, stay here. If you want more of a challenge, more of a stretch, squeeze your shoulders onto your back and begin to rotate and turn your body to the right. Don't allow the shoulder to hike towards the ear, but depress the shoulder and keep from locking the elbow out by turning the crease of the elbow forward. Hold for 6 to 8 breaths. And on the exhale, turn back to the front and remove your hand from the wall. And now for the other side. Once again, you'll stand sideways to the wall so that you can outstretch your arm, placing your palm flat on the wall. Make sure that your fingers are facing behind you and that they're parallel with the floor. Press all the knuckles and the heel of the hand into the wall, and you should feel a nice stretch all the way from your wrist, all the way through your elbow and up into your shoulder. If this is enough stretch for you, stay here and begin your breathing. And if you want more of a stretch, squeeze your shoulders onto your back, lifting your chest, and turn your body to the left. Make sure as you turn, the shoulder doesn't rise. You want to pull the shoulder back down back into its socket and focus on rotating the crease of the elbow in front of you. And then begin your breathing. Once you're in your stretch, hold for 6 to 8 breaths. And then on an exhale, release your stretch, come back to the center, and shake your arm out. These next set of exercises are for your arch health, your feet, your ankles, and your calves. We're going to do some stretches up against the wall. So turn and face the wall, and look down at your feet and make sure your big toes are closer together than your heels. And then what you're going to do is you're going to lift your right foot off the floor and place the top of your foot on the floor a little bit behind your left heel. Then you're going to bend both of your knees and once again give that pelvic tilt, tucking your tailbone down to the floor, and place as much of the top of the foot on the floor as you can. Then what you're going to do is you're going to roll to the pinky side of your foot, and you're going to feel a nice stretch through the front of your ankle on the top of your foot, and then to the big toe side. And just go a couple times back and forth. And hold for a few seconds, taking deep breaths. And then release. And let's do the other side. Placing the top of your left foot on the floor. And bending the knees a little bit, giving that nice pelvic tilt, and rolling to the pinky side and the big toe side. This is a most forgotten area for a lot of people. We don't think about stretching our ankles. And most of you are feeling by now this is a very intense stretch. You'll always want to take deep breaths in this stretch and make sure you try to get as much of the top of the foot on the floor as you can. And release. And now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to step your right leg back about a leg's length, paying close attention to the way that your toes are pointing. You want your toes pointing straight to the wall and not turning outward. So point both toes straight to the wall, stretch your arms out, pressing the palms flat into the wall. And then what you're going to do is you're going to bend your left knee into the wall. Try to keep the back of your heel on the floor, or at least try to reach it back to the floor. And you should feel the stretch from the Achilles tendon all the way up into the calf, trying to keep the back leg straight. And once again, give that nice pelvic tilt, tucking the tailbone between the legs. You don't want the tailbone reaching back, causing a sway back, but you tuck that tailbone down to the floor and hold for a few deep breaths. Be sure in this position that you can try to stretch your toes apart. You don't want any weight on your toes, mainly across the balls of your foot and then into the heel. And then release the stretch, stepping the right foot forward, and then step the left foot back about a leg's length difference, making sure that the left toes are pointing straight to the wall. Stretch the arms out, pressing the palms into the wall, and bend the right knee until you start to feel that stretch along the back of your left calf down into your Achilles tendon. Try to spread the toes of the left foot and really anchor that left heel into the floor, keeping that left leg straight. Just a couple more breaths. And then release. All right, here's another exercise you can do sitting off the edge of your bed or in a chair, or you can even do it standing in line at the grocery store. So look down at your feet once again, placing your feet where the big toes are closer than the heels so that you have a slight pigeon toe and you make that nice triangle with the instep of your feet. This is just toe spreading. You just lift your toes up away from the floor and spread them apart, trying to get equal space between all the toes. And then relax the toes down to the floor and then lift and spread the toes. Really try to reach that pinky toe away from the rest of the toes. And lower it back down. And again, lift and spread the toes. A lot of people have a hard time getting that pinky toe spread away from the rest. So you're wanting to spread it away from the middle of your feet. And relax the toes down. And again, lift and spread, creating equal space. And then to add to this exercise, you can try to isolate the toes, pressing down the pinky toe down to the floor, keeping the big toe lifted. And then lift the pinky toe up, press the big toe down, and lift the big toe up, and again press the pinky toe down. Pinky toe up, and then the big toe down. And you'll want to try this about 3 times on each side. And then another thing that you can do is you can roll marbles around underneath your toes. Or you can place a towel flat out on the floor and try to grab that towel with your toes, wrinkling it up, pulling the whole towel towards you. Just something fun, and it helps activate the arches in your feet for better support while you're walking around and moving. The next stretch we're going to do is a carpal tunnel stretch. And we're going to start by getting into a table position on our hands and knees. So bring your wrists directly underneath your shoulders, your knees directly underneath your hips. And once again, we want to give a nice pelvic tilt so we create a flat back, belly lifts up away from the floor. And then what we're going to do is we're going to turn our hands around so that our fingers are pointing back towards our knees. And you're going to want to make sure that your fingers are spreading out like the paws of a kitten. And you want to press the heels of your hand down into the floor. You want to make sure that you're not locking your elbows out, but you have a slight bend in your elbows, and the tip of your elbow is pulling back towards your knees. This is a very intense stretch for most people, so you may be up here. You may not get the heels of your hands pressed into your floor, but you just want to try to press them as much as you can down to the floor with the fingers spreading. Hold for a few breaths, and it's actually best if you look down between your hands down to the floor so that your head is in alignment with the rest of your spine. You don't want your head dropping down or your head looking up so that the back of your neck is stressed. You want the back of your neck long and lengthening. And release. And you'll want to rotate through the wrists a little bit. That was a really intense stretch. Just make some figure of 8 motions, both directions. I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to do these exercises. They're designed to improve flexibility and energy and increase the quality of your life. Motion is life, so keep moving. As always, be sure to consult your physician before beginning any new exercise program. And don't forget your Miraflex and CX2.